I am really excited to be here with you this morning. We have a great program lined up for you guys. There's a lot of people out there on the internet practicing law. We want you not to make that mistake. So,
Oh yeah,
uh,
some very interesting rhetoric that you're going to see online. You're going to see people that suddenly are experts on EBBAs, although they've never had one or used one, let alone bought or sold a house. You're going to see a lot of misinformation. So, Rachel found a really good Reddit link. But basically, getting into it, long story short, we've got an individual who thinks that the EBBA is both treacherous and unnecessary and transferring liability to him as a buyer, and he doesn't want to sign it. Well, my first thought response to that, and I know, Rachel, you know what I'm about to say, is no brokerage relationship. Simple. That cures that. You got a concern? We have a solution for that. That's really why that's out there. No brokerage relationship for the ones that just want to create scenarios in their heads of the worst case scenarios possible. And there's an old saying, if it starts out bad, it's going to end bad. So it's a really interesting scenario, and that's one of
yeah, it's one of those things where a little knowledge is a dangerous thing, especially when you think it's a lot of knowledge. So,
greed.
uh, but yeah, so we've had some interesting things coming up in the contract world. We definitely want you guys to be aware of the EBBA. You heard Sam mention on Tuesday, if you were at the broker briefing, they are actually doing spot checks from the MLS. They will call her and say, "Hey, I need the broker agreement." So that thing is starting to happen. We've also had secret shoppers, so they come to see if you actually are going to have them sign a BBA, and if you
Mm-hmm.
don't, I don't know if you guys have $1,500 to burn just for no reason, feel free. You can donate to me. I'll give you my my sale link. You guys got better use for that money. Pour it back into the business. Pour it back into a lot of good things. We don't need you getting in trouble. We want you to do the best and be the best. And that's why we have that buyer process that starts with a face-to-face meeting or at least a Zoom meeting if you can. That's the best practice that will keep you out of trouble.
Well, if I could jump in a minute on that topic, because you make some really good points. And Jodine and I have a practice with our agents, and we find it to be really effective. The first thing we do with our buyers before they even go out with us is we have either a meeting at Starbucks, wherever it might be, office, maybe it'll be the buyer's home, or maybe it'll be at your recreation center where you live and in your HOA. But you present the buyer's representation agreement as part of your buyer's representation package. You want to show your value first. We don't just jump into the representation agreements and expect people to sign it when we haven't even shown what our value is. So with that
Right.
being said, you get on Moxie, you put together that presentation, and I like to have a habit of having a bunch of them in a box in my car for a couple of reasons. Sometimes I deal with individuals that are not computer savvy, or maybe I'm
Hmm.
in a community where they just don't want a thing to do with computers whatsoever. Or the other thing is, I hate to depend on technology. What if it flakes out on me and I'm in the middle of a presentation? So by having that as a backup, having that ready, along with I have copies of contracts, I have copies of different agreements in a box, boom, 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 ready to go. In addition to my laptop, which 9 times out of 10 works just fine. But
Hmm.
just as an abundance of caution, I like to do printouts. I like to hand one to each party that's in front of me so they can look at it at the same time. Because sometimes you might have 2 or 3 people sitting there. What if you're working with an estate and you're getting ready to do a work with some probate buyers on a listing that's probate, and you've got people that want to buy, right? You're not going to share that one presentation with just one person because all 3 of them are buyers. I've had that happen. Or let's flip it. Let's say that you're going to work with some sellers that are personal representatives, and there's 4 of them. Just went through that on a listing that just getting ready to go into contract. Had it all printed out, ready to go. Everybody could look at it at the same time. Highlighted key areas also, so that when the sellers are going through this with you and you've presented your value up front, then they're more than inclined to sign the remaining documents without hesitation. But you have to present your value first. And make sure
Absolutely.
when you're working with buyers, you're not going to have that signed after you've run around showing them houses. And why is that? You're supposed to make sure you do this before you show them properties. The rules are very clear on that. And make sure you don't say the Florida bar requires you to do that. That's not how it works. It's Department of Justice rules that have been promulgated that the Florida Association of Realtors and the National Association of Realtors follows. So be careful with
Right.
that, because that point was raised in the Reddit comment, which that was about the only thing he was right about.
Yes, I was looking at, and I definitely usually do not chime on there because even though I do know the proper protocol, I am not a lawyer and I'm never going to present myself as one.
I don't chime in
But
on there because 9 out of 10 they're
yep,
going to misquote you, and I don't want to have a complaint from Florida bar.
there you go. So,
Multiple
and
accusations
nine
to worry
times out
about.
of 10, when we're arguing with somebody on the internet, we need to remember it's somebody that, that's the only way they can argue.
Well, let's think about this for a second. Remember how the Department of Justice lawsuit started? It was lawyers
By
going
stuff
back
on the
and chit-chatting on the internet,
internet.
and they nailed a bunch of people that were loose with lips, making up things that were totally inaccurate.
Mhm.
I still don't even know how we had standing to begin with to bring that suit, but that's a whole nother story. I won't get into that because I know we're recorded. But yeah. So long
Oh,
story short, no, stay off the internet. Don't give advice. Don't get involved with any of those sites asking or trying to reel you in, because when I see a post like that, I'm very suspicious.
mhm. So, well, I'm either suspicious or just going, sometimes all you can do is shake your head. So back to your point about value, that presentation, I have a new buyer that's coming to me today. I talk to them on the phone. On the phone, I do that lifestyle profile, right? This is our process. We go through it. So you've got it layered. You build rapport there. Then when we hang up, I send him the uh, buyer presentation. We have such a great one. You guys just did a good job on that video, recording everything. You've got all these wonderful tools. Follow the process so you don't miss a step. That's the same way that Henry Ford could build so many cars right at once, right? It came down the line. This was the next step. This was the next step. And you didn't put the steering wheel on before you put the motor in,
No.
right? You get it in order. It's just like baking a cake. If you want to add the baking soda after you've put it in the oven, it's too late. You
Mm,
can bake something, but it's not going to be a cake.
no, it'll be pancakes. That's what you're gonna get. And we don't want pancakes in our business, do we? We want souffles.
100% we do. So yeah, so that's where it starts. And in that presentation, there is an article in there about the EBBA. It explains it because people who have bought, remember, people will tell you, "Oh, I bought a house. I bought a house." Well, if they bought it before August 17th, 2023, this BBA is a new piece to them. So we do need to
Yeah,
explain it well because that's where some of the confusion comes. And
it
people
does.
are nervous when they're signing something that's going to commit them to you. You've got to build that trust first.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
are you
And it's the
guys
same thing.
clear?
Mhm.
I was going to ask if everybody online, I am sure they are because we have the choir here. So it's nice to preach to the choir because you get lots of amens, but we're looking for the people who need that salvation. So, um, but if you have any questions about the BBAs or the three kinds that we do have, put them in the chat. We're glad to answer them.
Yeah,
What
pop
else
it
you
in the chat. And and remember now, when you are dealing with somebody that, let's say you have the listing on the house and they need to find a leased property, you need to make sure you remember on that leased property the touring agreement at a minimum for the rentals, because that's required now. So, like,
got? Oh, is it for the
it
rentals
is,
as well? I thought it
it
was, look,
is.
see, I'm learning something, you guys. I thought it was just for sales.
No, rentals got added to the mix late last year. So, and long story short, in our templates and dot loop, we have that there. So those of you who have lease listings, I know I do, while we're waiting for condo prices to get better in certain pocket areas over here, we've got them listed for leasing so that as we see the market go up, which we've already seen more activity coming through.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and particularly when you end up being the one that's on both sides transactional, you want to have that. ready to roll, and ready at the time when they meet before or when they meet you at the door. I will not open that door until they sign it. I'm very strict about that because I know that there's people out there shopping. And it's not just our industry that has those secret shoppers. In retail, they've always been around.
Mhm. Oh,
Um, when I
yes.
ma- when I managed for Gordon Jewelers while I was in school, I was a nighttime manager for that store, one of the few they had. And I got secret shopped 2 or 3 times. Now they used to give us a prize. Now I wish they'd give us a prize. I used to get like
Right?
$1,000 or a cruise. The only time I ever went on a cruise to Bahamas, secret shopping. So yeah,
Nice.
I wish they'd give us a prize, but the prize will be that we close on the deal and we don't have any issues with the clients, customers, I should say, because you're
Mhm.
explaining what your responsibilities are in that
So
representation
you do
agreement.
that on a lease listing even when you're the listing agent?
Oh yeah, I do.
Okay. That's interesting.
Because you're gonna
Nice.
have people come through that want to see the property. And if they're not represented and they don't have a realtor, yeah, you want to use that disclosure. And in that disclosure on the bottom right-hand corner, it's gonna say that they have not signed anything with any other brokerage. They're not represented by any other brokerage. And that's a safeguard because you want to ask them, not only are you working with somebody, have you signed anything with anyone? Are you represented in writing with anyone or orally? There's all kinds of caveats there, but we just want to make sure that indeed that they're not, because if they are, their agent needs to do their job.
Mhm. For sure. I had one the other day call on one of my listings in the middle of the day, wanting to know if I could go over in 15 minutes to show his guy I'm like, no, I can't. But I'm having an open house this weekend. You can send them then. I'm not. But you need to show your client. I can't show your client.
Well, that's short of notice, especially, that makes it difficult. And then sometimes you get calls from other brokerages where they don't use e-key, they don't use the access key, but they're real quick to call you out if you don't have that, ability to jump in an airplane and get over to that listing right away for them to show their customer a property, because they don't want to make the drive from, let's say, with a Lacucci, wherever the heck they are, and they want to come over
Right.
here, like they're 3 hours away, right? But for whatever reason,
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea to represent somebody that's potentially looking to here. No, I think so. It's not a good practice,
Oh, no,
but
definitely not a
they
good
tell you on some
practice.
situations. Yeah, yeah. Sometimes though, there are situations if you can make the time to let the buyers
Oh,
in.
100%, right? Because we
I,
represent our seller. We want it to close. I am more than happy to do it, but not when you call me 15 minutes before and I'm going headed to a closing. No.
well, I'm going to tell you a
Sorry.
little story too. On that note, sometimes if somebody's far away and they're in the middle of something, what I'll do is I'll make sure that that agent has that written agreement with their buyers. And then when I let their buyers in, I'll put them on FaceTime and they can watch everything that their buyers are doing, hear everything that they're saying, and everybody is on the same playing field, right? I did that with a
Mhm.
condo and it closed nicely. And then the buyer was so surprised that I went above and beyond. I had to do that on inspections too. I mean, his agent was over in Casa Garajo somewhere. So when the buyer, about 6 months later, his spouse had passed away, he reached out to me and wanted me to list the property because he felt like his agent didn't do squat for him. And I said, as long as you don't have anything signed with that agent, you don't have any representation, I'll be more than happy to represent you, but I got to have that up front. So I ended up selling that condo 3 times because I went a step above and beyond. Even though I didn't like doing it at the time, I wanted to get it sold for my sellers because it was a difficult sale. It was a condo that
Mhm.
was facing a courtyard, and unless you're from the Northeast, you're not going to want a property like that that's staring at another building. I mean, that's generally a facade type of building structure that only a certain amount of people are going to really like. And then throw into the
Mhm.
mix that the association fees are $1,200 a month. Now you really have narrowed your buyer pool, right?
Yes.
So sometimes when you got a property like that and it's a headache, he was the one to buy it. I will tell you. Thank God I did go over there. Thank God.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes, and that's just part and parcel of doing our job, right? Because
right.
we defy ordinary and we deliver extraordinary.
Well, that's what we teach and we follow it, right? And I like to share those
Absolutely.
stories so you know that we're not just sitting behind a desk every day. We actually have a book of business, you
Right.
know?
So speaking of books of business, how many of you guys are great with paperwork?
Mm.
Yeah, not seeing a whole lot of hands go up. I know some of you are though. Some of you are very, very detail oriented. That is not my strongest wheelhouse. And so I want to share with you guys what I did today. I had a deal that became complicated, right? So I had opened one file and I had two files going on the same customers at the same time. And I ended up putting one piece that went with one file into the wrong doc. And I just want to give a shout out to Sam Beggins because she is the one who caught it for me when I submitted. Our back office is awesome. So thank you, Sam, for that. And I want to tell you guys too, if you mess something up, because I get panic calls. I archived this and I didn't mean to. It is nothing that can't be undone. We can fix it, so we don't have to panic. But you have your managers and the back office. They are really, really awesome. So we're really thrilled that they are there and we are in good hands. And that's why too, some of the documents that you guys don't understand why they're required to submit, it is the same thing, is to protect you from liability. Because a lot of this thing was with the settlement, part of it was that all customers weren't treated the same, that they weren't treated fairly. If you offer somebody, like for instance, if I offered John Doe a home warranty and he declined, and I never offered it to Sally Jane, and she would have liked it, and then all of a sudden something goes wrong with her household, then if we've got proof that we do it to other people, we need to be equal across the board, right? We treat everyone the way we would want to be treated. And if I knew that product was out there, I'd want it to be offered. And that's why some of those things that are required to submit, they're legal and they're to cover you and to make sure that we are offering the same thing, the same standard to everyone all the way across the board.
And
And then
to
the
your point,
fire, yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. No, no, I don't like to talk over someone. I didn't mean to be rude. I'm sorry.
No.
No, forgive me. I was just going to jump in on the home warranty when you mentioned that. That's a really good point because in errors and admissions insurance, one of the things that are required in order to have a claim paid if in the event that there's an issue, you have to have your energy disclosure. That's in part of the contract, right? You have to have your home warranty. You have to have affiliated business disclosures. You have to have seller's disclosure or non-disclosure of property. You have to have your representation agreement, whatever it might be, if it's transactional, which is what I prefer. Um, and those are the five main disclosures that have to be in your file in the event that you're audited or in the event that there's a claim that comes up. And another thing is, even if let's say that you do an offer and it goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and you end up never actually having it turn into a executed contract, you need to keep those records for 5 years. We have to keep them in dot loop. So I raise these points because this is all things that add to the cost of errors and admissions insurance. And having my own errors and admissions insurance policy that I have to renew every year for my business up north, I'm painfully aware of what the clauses are, and I like to share that with you guys because you're not going to see that like I do, and nor do I don't expect you to sit up at night and memorize that stuff. That's why we like to bring that up on the meetings just to kind of like refresh you, because we're not asking for those disclosures to be a PIA. We really need to have them. And having come from a small brokerage before I came over to Baggins, I can tell you it is a gift to have a back office to do what they do. Because when you come from a smaller brokerage, and I know there's a couple people on here who came from smaller ones too, you're the one that has to do everything if you are either an owner or if you're a broker associate or something like that. You're the ones jumping in doing everything. So we're blessed. And I say that with every bit of my heart because it's not fun. And for the entries, for the MLS entries, make sure when you need an update to your MLS listing, make sure you send the MLS number and the address, not just part of the address and expect us to know where in the world is it. Because when those updates are being made in the back office for the MLS, the screen that they see versus what your data entry sheet is completely different. And I know because I used to do all that. And I hated it. It's tedious. It's a nightmare. I don't ever want to enter my own listings. It takes an hour and a half to do that stuff, even when you're good at it. So
Oh
Enough
my god.
of my
See,
rant.
I knew I picked the right brokerage. I've been with this one since I got my license. Now, it was just it was definitely the right decision, one of the best ones I've ever made.
Yes. Yeah, the training is outstanding and the support. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, and you guys, even as agents, you are more aware of what a lot of what is going on than some of the other brokers out there. Have you not found that, Cap?
Phew. Are you kidding me? We get nightmares every day. We get people trying to put commissions and contracts and then have brokers argue with us about it. I had to get in the middle of something the other day concerning that. And he had it all over the contract. I'm a broker, blah, 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 blah. I said, well, I'm so happy for you, but let me refer you to this rule, blah, 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 blah. You don't put it there. You have an addendum FF or GG, depending on which one you want to use. That allows you to have the commissions explained. Do you know why you don't put the commissions in the contract? Because the agents are not parties to the contract. But I don't want to insult you because you're a broker. That nipped him in the bud real quick. Because just because they're brokers doesn't mean they know. It
No.
doesn't. Don't get intimidated by that. I'll push back in a
Right.
New York second on that.
So, I have found the other confusion that we had come up over here this week was around GG. And it was between one of our newer agents who is doing a phenomenal job and an agent from another brokerage that I know pretty well here. And the
Mm-hmm.
agent on the other side was telling her, "Oh, we can't use GG anymore. My broker says that's not what we use." Well, she had missed. When I started doing a little bit, I was about to call the broker, and then I realized probably what was going on. The agent was confusing GG with the compensation agreement, which is buyer broker to, I mean, seller's broker to buyer's broker, or seller to buyer's broker. And what they had put in was seller's broker to buyer's broker, and they want to use seller to buyer's broker. But
Right.
everybody
And I like FF.
a lot of same words in there.
Yeah, and I prefer FF. Now, GG's great if you got the buyer because they weasel out of it in 3 days, right? Where
Hmm.
FF, you use that one and you're going to provide that up front, the uh, the agreement. So I like that for the contract.
Okay, so you like that better because it's harder to weasel out of?
Yeah, I like FF because you're going to provide that as part of the contract. Yep, Lauren says the same thing. I don't use GG because that allows the buyer wiggle room. And as soon as the buyer thinks that they can have a little bit of wiggle room, not in all cases, but in some, they might get stars in
Mhm,
their eyes and go look at something else. And now you have to undo that paperwork because you haven't received that compensation agreement yet, right? Under GG. So there's that
mhm.
window, right? So FF is let's seal the deal, let's dance, let's go to the prom, and let's have a good time.
Nice.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any other questions on that? So I have an interesting one to pose, and I want to hear what you have to say about this, Kath.
Oh
I mean,
Lordy.
yeah. So, for a while over here, I held the record for the longest closing, the most difficult one. Bob Dean has since claimed my crown, but Kathy does our closings over here. And so I had one that was a while back that somebody, this has been actually several years ago, with a single party listing agreement, and the guy was
Mm.
like, "No, we don't have to pay that." And he was getting his lawyer involved. It was fun. It was a long day, but yesterday, literally, and I had everybody pre-sign. I arranged it, made sure, and I talked to the buyer. I'm like, "If you can wire your funds on the day before, please do so because it's got to go out at 9. We're closing. I had a client with a health issue, right? So we're
And you had
closing.
title sent out the wire instructions, right? Not you.
No, gosh,
Good.
no, never me.
Okay.
I just put everybody together, say, this is the title company, this is the other title. And I had the two title companies talk because it was two different title companies, one from the close, one from the purchase.
Perfect.
So, wow, yeah. Then I had the agent on the other side start demanding the keys. Now, but they didn't send it the wire the night before to let the title company hold it. Now they said, no, we'll send it out first thing in the morning. Okay, as long as it's out by 9. So here's my question to you: should I find myself in this situation again? Can we add an addendum to the contract that they would wire funds must be wired by 10 a.m. on the day of closing?
Well, the contract has the clause that says that closing will occur when funds are received. So there you
Hmm.
have it. It's already in there.
Yeah, well, this one, they were supposed to wire it first thing in the morning. They tell me, oh, well, I've sent it at 11:40, right? They did not. They sent it at 2:40 yesterday. And then I'm waiting on the other one to close. This is an investor client, right? And so he told me, no, 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 I've already sent it. So we're closed and I can have the keys. I said,
No.
honey, until we have the money, you don't own the house. I don't care
Right.
that you say you sent it. I don't care that you say that the title company said they sent it because they
Well, a
hadn't.
good response to that is in Florida, we don't do dry closings. That nips it in the bud. We
There we
don't do dry closings. There you have it.
Oh,
Garbage.
so yeah, I'm afraid that sometimes you have to mirror and match.
Oh, sure you
I
do.
have,
Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
I
No, I'm
have
the
to
queen of
do it.
that. No,
I got out my broom and went for a ride yesterday afternoon.
I'm
Do
sure.
you know
And
we have
don't
it
let them
funded?
sneak stuff. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I
Don't
was
let
to
them.
say, don't let them sneak stuff in the garage. No, we're not going to do lease backs. I mean, I'm not a big fan of lease backs. Who's going to have the homeowner's insurance and what if the house burns down? I mean, there's so many things that could happen.
Yeah, we don't do that. The problem was that I had, we had power set to cut off. The lady who was there is oxygen dependent. We had to have stuff for her, and they were supposed to cut off the power company cut off the power a little bit earlier than they're supposed to, but they had turned it on over at the other place too. The listing agent that where they were purchasing was gracious enough to let her go ahead and go in so she could plug everything up because it's very hard for her to move around too, as long
Mm.
as I sat there with her and they didn't move anything else in. And I thought that was a very decent human being thing to do. So, but yeah, it funded at 457. I was sweating bullets going, oh my God, what am I going to do with these people? But they did get the money and, so it worked it out. But I want you guys not to be intimidated because in this market, there are agents who will do it. And I've had other people who've called me about that. They're saying they have to have the keys now. Do you have the funds? If you don't have the funds, they don't get the keys.
Yeah, no, you can't. You
You're
can't
be
because
off,
we don't. Yeah,
right? You don't
yeah,
own
we
it.
don't. Yeah, we don't do dry closings in Florida, and it would be contrary to the contract. Closing a fully executed contract is when it is funded and then it's closed.
Exactly.
That's uh,
We buy properties all over the United States. We are a big.
good. I'm happy
I'm like
for you.
you're so big you
Do what
couldn't
we got to do.
even send your wire on time. So, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you.
No, you're fine. We're just having a great conversation. Please.
Yeah.
No, 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 no. No, I think we had some really good topics today. I can't thank you enough for putting that together. They're all very important topics, and don't get snared in the internet's this, that, and the other. There's so much hate and divisiveness right now, and the last thing we want to do is get caught up in the middle of somebody's what ifs. And we know darn well that behind that keyboard warrior is probably somebody with a law license just looking to create another lawsuit and get you snared into it.
See, you're nicer than I am. I just assume they're an idiot on the other side.
Hey,
And I just, the only way to win. You guys ever seen War Games? It's a 1980 movie,
oh
1982
yeah,
movie. Yes,
yeah,
the only way to win is not to play. So you
that's
just
right.
don't play with those people, right?
Yeah,
And you
exactly.
guys are smart enough to know that.
Just be
And
analytical, pick it apart piece by piece, and realize that you know your value, show your value. You got this. And if you got a question or you got a really difficult client customer that just doesn't seem to understand, get your manager involved, because we have a good way of um, putting out fires. I do it on a daily basis.
mhm,
I'll get a call. Cat, this one's driving me nuts. I can't take it anymore. I swear I'm going to quit. I'm like, no, you're not. We're going to get through this.
right?
Just listen
So,
in, and I'll put them on the phone and I'll go through whatever the issue is. Boom, we close.
oh, thank you to whoever's iPhone that is. That's wonderful. All right, we love you guys. Go sell something.
Have an awesome day. Have an awesome weekend. And we'll see you on the Zoom soon.
Bye.
Bye.